Welcome, welcome. Spring, it's sprung. We're here.
We're here.
Summer and Cynthia show
Yay.
on your device. Summer, what's up?
Oh, just out here springing, girl. Every day I'm springing.
And blinging
And hair swinging.
Yeah.
People,
Great. Well, you're looking good.
Thank you. And so are you. What's new with you?
Still staying in, still trying to stay away from all the variants. I am between shot 1 and 2, but we get out when we can, when it's nice enough to eat out and things like that. But otherwise, still kind of being very conservative because now is not the time to risk. These spikes are a little concerning.
Exactly. I saw 32 states are going up.
Yeah.
And I too, in case you're not aware, I took my second shot Thursday. We're recording Sunday, so a couple of days ago. No side effects for myself nor my husband, but that could be a totally different journey for you. So it like everything, this walk is individual, yet we band together to keep each other safe. So
that's right. Looking forward to a new world, a new real world, a new reality, but being able to be with people in person, which might create the opportunity finally for you and me to actually hang out in person, because that's the thing, viewers. If you don't know why we're doing this, we've never actually met in person. We come to this show as podcasters, and last summer when I was just sort of, running through and creating a lot of content, having a lot of fun conversations, I said, hey, Summer, let's talk about TV. So we went from an audio format and realized how much we have in common, but on the other hand, how much we don't have in common.
Yeah.
And so here we are, and we just keep talking and talking.
Getting to know each other.
Yes. So we do have something in common.
Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint, audience, because I know you are guessing, right? All right. Red and white.
There's a title underneath here that tells everybody what we're going to talk about.
Don't you look at it. It's red and white. It's wonderful. And you can just peruse this place and enjoy it until your heart stops. It's wonderful retail at its finest because it's so inclusive in terms of price point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone can shop here no matter what your budget is, but it is this wonderful retail place called Target. Target is what I lovingly call it.
Yes.
But Target.
Yes. It's Target. And it's a Target run. I mean, it has its own vernacular.
It really does.
We'll talk a little bit about the vernacular, actually. So, among other things, the Target has evolved. And so a little bit of this is the history of Target, but also why we love Target. And so I lived in Minnesota for most of my life, which is where Target was first opened in 1962 in Roseville, Minnesota, which is a suburb of St. Paul. I'm pretty sure that our Target in Bloomington opened in about 1968, 67, 68, right on 494 and Penn Avenue. And so for people who kind of were growing up in the southwest suburbs of Minneapolis, that was the Target, right? And then about 10 years later, the kind of 1976, 77, they built a new Target in Edina, which was a ritzier suburb. Fast forward about 20 some years later, and I'm sitting with my kids' friends, one of whom is from Edina. And I said, and something, and well, we're going to go to Target. And I said, well, I don't know, you guys, should we go to the old Target or the new Target? Mind you, the new Target is now more than 25 years past, more like 30 years, okay? Yeah. But that's the differentiator when you grow up in, when you live in the same place you grew up. My son's friend said, my mom calls that the new Target too. And I'm like, see, that's just how people differentiate when you've got two Targets near each other. And I'm sure that throughout America, where there are two Targets near each other, one is known as the old and one is the new.
Absolutely.
Target. Have you been to a Target lately?
It's been a couple of weeks. I mean, I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I went for something random, but when Cynthia and I were coming up with this show topic, we just instantly went down memory lane.
Did you grab a cart or a basket when you walked in? That'll tell us which rabbit hole you went
I
down.
actually I actually had a cart, but it did not do, and that's because what I was buying was bulky. But
Mhm.
I did not, I was very disciplined, to my surprise, because, I was telling Cynthia, usually the cart is the kiss of death. For me,
Yeah.
it's about how much can I fit in here. And I think I was showing you that tweet the other day that, you see it initially and it's $5, it's $2. But I mean, hell, if you've bought 100 of these items, it adds up quickly.
Yeah.
But that's the joy of Target. So for me, we had a neighborhood Target growing up in LA, off Olympic in Fairfax. No, La Cienega and Fairfax, in that area. Anyway, this means nothing unless you live there. And then there was a Toys R Us as well. So
Oh,
woo, parents, they just, they knew. And I was telling her the inserts in back when we would get newspapers, particularly the Sunday
oh
newspaper.
yes, the Target
It
ad.
was
Hmm.
full of all the inserts, Toys R Us and Target. Brother
Yes.
and I would take it and peruse the latest things that were in there. And that was just childhood. So I just grew up associating Target was a place with toys. It was lit, it was pretty, and I liked shopping there, and it was next to Toys R Us. Fast forward, you get a little older, and then you start, oh, okay, some of these outfits are bad. Let me try that. Definitely school supplies, right?
Hmm.
Because it had
Hmm.
everything. But back then, it wasn't, at least in the LA city part, not suburbs, there wasn't the concept of the superstore. So
Hmm.
it wasn't a grocery store. It was just strictly, in its original state.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was kind of where I started. As soon as she brought this topic up, it was like, oh, let's talk about the good old days. Yeah.
Yes. Target, I mean, even today. So now we have, there are some that are sort of competitors, and you have to believe that Amazon is a competitor. I'm
Mhm.
not a big fan of Amazon. Every once in a while, there's something that only can get delivered through an Amazon vendor, but I have many issues with it as a company. And I believe that we need to support bricks and mortar. And while some could argue that Target has put smaller hardware stores and clothing stores and other sorts of places and grocery stores out of business, here we are, it's 2021. So you have to pick your battles where they are.
And
But
I think, it's about choices, right?
it is about.
I am not a big fan of monopolies.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where your Amazon came in. And I admit, that's pretty much what took over my not mindless shopping behavior, but it did for many years,
Mhm.
right? And because I used to weekly go to Target. I mean, that was just part of my thing. And then I stopped doing that, found Amazon, but like you mentioned, it's kind of a love-hate with them. And I want to get back to Target.
Yeah.
Target will always be in some part of my life just because, again, I love the store. It's always bright
Mhm.
and clean for the most part. There is just a standard of expectation that they have set because they've been so consistent through over the years that I just associate with them with a certain type of experience. So I expect that.
And their buyers, thankfully, they have sort of evolved through their buyers, who I think now are really positioned to understand what the American shopper wants, or I should say the international shopper, because there are targets in other countries. I remember about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, just as I was kind of getting a Twitter account, and I would take a picture of some horrific, offensive greeting card. And I'm like, really, Target? I was one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, and then it's like they recognized that they had people who were buying things who didn't quite understand. Perhaps they were too white, or they were too kind of old school, or whatever it was, too conservative and worried about offending. And then Target ended up doing some offending, and they got a little too political in places that ultimately, we have become better activist consumers because Target had a couple of big missteps. But then, like 2 years ago, they had these cute little t-shirts, and it had, who I can be or whatever. And then it had like 16 women's faces with with women's hair and everything. And it was like, oh, I love Target. And every time I see something in Target that I believe is, it's not gender pushy, or it's helping girls understand, helping anybody who has been underrepresented be
Right.
themselves. I take a picture, I post it to Facebook, I post it to Twitter, because I figure, yeah, Target, I kicked you a couple of times. You deserved it, but now good for you.
And you're taking those bold steps. And just another instant, and I was quickly looking up, if you noticed I was distracted, it's because I wanted to make sure I was correct in my memory, and
Mhm,
how one of their initiatives was to get away and be more gender neutral, which I think is commendable. And
mhm,
absolutely, it's just, as culture, society shifts in what we deem as important, um, necessary, inclusive,
mhm,
you pay attention more to the brands who are putting it out there, right? And taking more social responsibility, real social responsibility.
mhm,
And when
mhm,
Target announced that, that was just one of the things that they did. And then in more recent times, just a couple of weeks ago or a week or so ago, they announced their pledge to the Black community, which is huge. About $2 billion over the next 3 years or
something like
so,
that. Yeah.
or by 2025 specifically. They want to invest in Black owned businesses. They want to increase their workforce by 20% over the next 3 years. And so it's doing these types of initiatives and steps that's really putting your mouth where your money is. And so while you're listening to your consumer base and reflecting, more importantly, your
Mhm.
consumer base, it just makes for an over. It's good for business. It is good
Yes.
for
Yeah,
business.
it is. And they recognize that.
Mhm.
They're in a very tight market where, it could swing, and it already has swung when Amazon entered the market.
Correct.
Just so you know, viewers, we are not in any way being being
Oh yeah.
leveraging our
Paid.
endorsement for
Yeah,
anything.
no, they don't have anything to do with what we're doing right now.
Yep. Not sponsored. I don't even
Nope.
think I know anybody who works at a Target right now. We are just doing this out of the love of our good heart.
As consumers, exactly. However, on the flip side, you mess up, we will call you out as well.
Absolutely.
We have to hold you accountable. But again, we I thank you, Target, for just being such, you played a big role in my life, and I just didn't realize how ingrained. And I also share with Cynthia, when I went off to college to Louisiana, so I go from LA to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and there wasn't a Target there yet. This is where I'm now forced to go to Walmart. It's not a crip or blood situation. Okay, if you like Walmart, great. It wasn't in my orbit, so I no love lost until now. Now I've got to
Mhm.
shop in a freaking Walmart, and
Mhm.
there's a difference. It just is whatever. But then finally, like my second year, there was a new one being built, all right, brand new, and it was over.
That red and white orb was coming up out of the ground.
See, they knew summer needed a Target in Baton
Right.
Rouge.
They were tracking that other store in California, and its numbers were off.
And
Well,
so it was on and popping.
I will tell you that I continue to, do my Facebook prompts, because a lot of my Facebook friends are from Minnesota. Just last year in the pandemic, I needed to, and we've talked, and viewers, I'd be curious if you are a regular Target shopper, and maybe you remember back before it had the grocery component. When you go to Target, do you do your grocery and your other Target stuff? Or do you sort of have to separate it? Because I kind of find, like, I've got about an hour in a Target, and I usually have a list of some sort. And to head over to the food department it's a challenge. I don't have the focus for that. But
Yeah. And
we have a
say,
mini Target very close to, two mini Targets near us, and that is the basics of life, including a small grocery cart. So I think I needed bread, and I needed something that was more Targety, or I would have gone to the grocery store or whatever. So I chased to the Target back when just going out with your mask on was, you got to a store and you went in and you took care of business and you came out. So I ran into the little mini Target, find my 3 things or whatever. I have my little basket in my hand and I turn the corner and I swear to God, they had these socks, okay, women's socks, right? Right? And they have this logo on them. Well, if you are from the Midwest, you might say, I'm not doing a puppet show here, that logo, which is now, this was just as Target was rolling out because they didn't expect there would be a pandemic. This whole athleisure, their athletic wear is going to have this thing. And I don't know if they've got a name for it because I don't pay that much attention, but I was like, oh my God, these socks. Well, the significance of this is that Target was a subsidiary of a company called Dayton Hudson, or the Dayton Company, which at that time was most well known for its Dayton department stores. And these were ritzy department stores. I mean, this was, so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the logo from Dayton's. This makes me happy. Because when you are living in a pandemic and you can't see your kids and you can't even be outside and you chase into your favorite store and this wonderful blast from the past landed, I was like, oh, this is wonderful. So I posted on Facebook. I got like 35 likes of the fact that I had this experience, and they're continuing to use it. It appears on socks and very, very delicately on yoga pants and things like that. So so you guys know now that Target is able to use that logo because that's still the intellectual property that was part of their heritage 60 years ago now.
And now we're going to segue into soul candy. But before we do that, Cynthia's going to press pause because I need to get something. So we wanted to share with you, in addition to Target memories, more of show and tell associated with said memories. So I will go first. The items I'm going to share with you was when Target was in collaboration with luxury lines and our brands. It was like I believe a holiday. And I'm sorry, I tried to and failed to search it, but I didn't do extensively what year it was. But it was around the holidays that they had collaborated with luxury brands and brought some products to Target. And so I went because, of course, why not? And it was simple stuff like this notepad that is actually Carolina Herrera, right? Woo, fancy. And it came with a pencil too that I don't use.
And you never used it.
No, because if I am going to use pencils, I actually prefer mechanical. It's my own little quirky thing, but I mean, it's sentimental. I still have it. But this has been over 5 years. I mean, this was a while ago. Sure. I just don't know exactly when. So it was a cute little set with matching pencils. Only have one for you. But then also Tory Burch jumped in and said, oh, I too will participate. And this was my lunchbox that I would take to work. Sure did. I had a matching thermos, but I guess I got rid of it because I couldn't find it.
Yeah. Are there any lunch boxes left with their original thermoses? I asked.
Right, exactly. But there's her little logo. But yeah, it was just cute little items that Target was doing at one point in time. And me being the connoisseur that I am, I had to get me some Carolina Herrera and Tory Burch items.
Oh, of course.
Cynthia, what is your memory?
So we have been students of the hungry shopper, the Target snack bar concept, and it has evolved. I'm sure there is somebody who, by virtue of hashtags, is working for Target who is even getting a little bit of a chuckle out of the fact that we can remember these things and that it has impact. So back in the day, when even going to a Target was a big deal when you're a kid, and the Target snack bar had fountain drinks, hot dogs, but most importantly, it had popcorn. So if you had been good through the whole Target thing, I mean, it's all bribery of little kids, right? If you're good, we'll buy popcorn on the way out. Of course, then we buy popcorn on the way out and somebody ends up spilling it in the car, but that's another story. And so they had the Target brand on the bag. It was a tall, skinny bag. And you had like 2 sizes or sometimes 3 sizes. But just that whiff of walking in, unlike a department store where if you're walking in through the cosmetics and the perfume, you get that whoosh, and and it triggers you, right? It's like Abercrombie and that whole mess of that offensive smell at Abercrombie and Fitch in the mall, right? There's a lot of psychology in what's
There
going
is.
on with what you
And
smell.
why the movies.
Right. And like the movie. So to smell popcorn is it's a familiar thing. It loosens you up a little bit and everything. So
Yeah.
I will never forget buying popcorn. And now sometimes at the Targets, they still have a popcorn maker. They definitely have a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have an icy machine. But and during COVID, all of that got shut down. And I think they're probably evaluating whether or not to even bring that back or just close it all up and not have those employees. But I can tell you, I ate meals, I had the kids, it was incredibly convenient on your way out. As you've got your big cart filled with all the bags and stuff. And it's
Nom,
like,
nom,
okay,
nom,
kids, we're
nom.
having hot dogs for dinner. But
Yes, yes. Oh, Tarjay.
so it's always be a spot in my heart for Target. That's my
Always. And
soul
again,
food.
the inclusiveness of price point
Yeah.
is the key there. It is something for everybody. And that's the magic of it, is everyone feels like they can belong. It's attainable.
So the cool part is that we have had different memories, different experiences, and everybody loves a Target. So I'm kind of guessing that some of our viewers maybe have some too. We hope you'll share them with us.
Please do. How? Well, there's an email address below. There's also a comment section. Hello. Hello. Talk to us. Let us know. Share
Yes.
your fun Tarjay stories. And on that note, Cynthia.
We are not drinking. We are not having our brunch mimosas on this
No,
beautiful
this is a
Sunday morning.
natural high, people.
This is just the good feeling that comes from talking about the joy of retail, which we're hoping is not something that is becoming a distant memory, and that in
It
fact
can't
some of
be.
it surprises us because there have been people thinking about how it is that they too can improve Target for the future. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Me too.
Stay tuned, everybody. We've got more episodes in the coming weeks. We are going nowhere.
Peace.
Summer and Cynthia signing out.